All right, let's dive in. We're taking a look at a pretty unique cover today. Kerian von Heyden's synthpop take on Metallica's Nothing Else Matters.
Oh, wow. Interesting combo.
It is. And if you want to listen along with us, you can find a Spotify link in the description. Now, Kerian von Heyden, just to give a bit of background, is a German musician who blends synth pop and rock.
Yeah, I've had some of his other stuff. Interesting sound he's got.
Definitely. And for this cover, he's partnered with vocalist Jaki Nelson. But before we get into that,
Yeah.
what I think is so cool about this cover is how he takes this heavy metal ballad and turns it into something completely different, but it still like retains the emotional core of the original.
It's true. It's like he's found a way to translate the feeling of the song into a totally new genre.
Exactly. So let's actually start right at the beginning. You know that super iconic opening guitar riff in Metallica's version?
Oh, yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Right. Well, here, Von Heyden goes in a totally different direction.
Oh, I'm curious. What does he do?
Instead of that heavy guitar, it's this like calm, almost ambient intro, like all these synth pads and kind of light piano chords.
Ah, I see. So he's immediately setting a different mood.
Exactly. It doesn't hit you with that wall of sound like the original. It's like you're being eased into the song.
That makes sense. It's more like, come on in, let's explore this feeling together, rather than, bam, here's the emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what I find really fascinating is that even though it's so different, you can still recognize it as Nothing Else Matters.
Right.
Like that melody is still there, just hidden beneath these new sounds.
It's super clever how he does that.
And, you know, speaking of these new sounds, the production quality is just, wow, from the very first note.
Yeah.
It's like you're being enveloped in this sonic landscape, you know? You can hear the refinement in every single detail. It's pretty impressive.
Totally. And that refinement really comes through in how he builds the song, too.
Yeah.
Like, as the song progresses, you get this gradual layering of sounds. You've got synthesizers and percussions and these bass lines that all kind of weave together to create this really interesting backdrop for Jaki Nelson's vocals.
Yeah. It's like he's building this textured backdrop, right?
Yes.
And it evolves as the song goes on, which keeps it interesting. Like, it's always moving, but it never feels cluttered or overwhelming.
And the way he transitions between sections is so smooth. Like, for example, around the 1 minute mark when the verse flows into the chorus, it just kind of glides effortlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I think it's those subtle swells and fades that he uses. Like, he's not making these jarring cuts between sections. It's all very organic, like the music is breathing.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And then when the chorus hits, the instrumentation does intensify, but it's never like in your face. It's this cool balance between minimalism and richness.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's giving you just enough without going overboard.
Right.
And I think that really shows his skill as a producer. It's a tough balance to strike.
I agree. It really showcases his control over the dynamics of the song.
Speaking of balance, we have to talk about Jaki Nelson's vocals.
Oh, yes. Her voice is mesmerizing on this track.
Isn't it?
There's this interesting contrast between the softness and this kind of like strength in her delivery.
Yeah. It's like she's got this soft, almost ethereal quality to her voice. But at the same time, there's this underlying authority there that really works well with the electronic element.
It's true. And I think it adds another layer of complexity to the song, this kind of juxtaposition between those two elements.
It does. And it's like she's both grounding the song, you know, bringing that human element to it, but also giving it this otherworldly feel at the same time. It's quite a feat.
It really is. It's such a captivating performance.
Absolutely. It's like she's almost floating above the music.
Yeah.
And the way she interprets James Hetfield's lyrics, it's really interesting.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, you know, it's a Metallica song originally. Hetfield has a very particular style.
Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, very raw, very powerful. But Jaki Nelson, she brings this like incredible sensitivity and comfort to the lyrics.
It's true. And it almost makes them feel, I don't know, more personal somehow.
Yeah, totally. It's like she's not just singing them, she's embodying them.
Exactly. Like she's sharing her own story through them.
Right. And there are these moments I notice where her voice kind of blends with itself, you know, creates this almost like heavenly effect.
It does. It's beautiful.
It's not just singing, it's like a vocal tapestry.
It really is. And it's amazing how Von Heyden's production never overshadows her voice.
Right. It's like he created this sonic foundation that allows her to shine.
Exactly. It's like he knew exactly how to frame her performance.
And I think that's one of the things that makes this cover so successful. You know, it's a true collaboration between the electronic elements and that natural human voice.
It adds so much depth.
Yeah, so much depth and dimension.
It's like this sonic landscape that feels both intimate and expansive at the same time.
It really does. It's a cool effect.
We've talked a lot about the technical aspects of this cover, but I think it's also important to discuss, like, the overall emotional impact.
Yeah, definitely. How did it make you feel when you first heard it?
Well, from the very beginning, I felt this sense of, like, tranquility and almost like a kind of self-reflection.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely got a contemplative vibe.
And that contemplative beat,
yeah,
combined with the electronic textures and Jaki Nelson's vocals, it just creates this really calming yet emotionally uplifting atmosphere.
It's like a musical meditation almost.
Yes, exactly.
And it's funny, this whole reinterpretation of Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about this broader trend of like reimagining classic songs in new genres.
Oh yeah, that's happening a lot these days.
It is. And it makes you wonder, like, what is it about certain songs that makes them so enduring that they can be transformed in such a way, but they still resonate with listeners?
That's a great question. I think part of it is the emotional depth of the original composition.
Yeah, for sure. And Nothing Else Matters. I mean, that song has layers.
It does. And von Heyden, he really taps into that.
He does. And the way he uses dynamics, too,
yeah.
To guide the listener through this journey, it's really masterful.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, it starts off with that serene feeling we talked about, but then it builds, there's this gentle intensity that emerges.
Like an ebb and flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it keeps you engaged the whole way through.
It does. And the production quality, too, is just phenomenal.
Oh, it's flawless.
I could hear every detail.
It's like you're right there in the studio with them.
It's so immersive. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's like a sonic window into their creative process.
Totally. And, this cover is really a testament to the creativity of both Kerian von Heyden and Jaki Nelson. They took this, like, classic metal ballad and transformed it into this stunning piece of modern electronic music.
It's true. And they did it all while staying true to the emotional core of the original.
Exactly. It's really remarkable.
Because they built a bridge between those two worlds.
Right. Metallica and like modern electronica.
And somehow it works.
It really does. It's so cool.
It makes you think, about how music can transcend genres and time.
It does.
Like, here's a song that was written decades ago in a totally different style.
Right.
And it's been reimagined, but it can still connect with us on such a deep level.
It's true. It speaks to, like, the universality of human emotion.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, no matter what genre you prefer, certain melodies, harmonies, lyrics, they just have this power to tap into something deep within us.
Absolutely. And this version of Nothing Else Matters definitely does that.
It does. It's both familiar and completely new at the same time.
It is.
So I'm curious, what stood out to you most about this reinterpretation?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
For me, it's the way von Heyden and Nelson managed to create this atmosphere of, like, serenity and reflection.
Oh, interesting.
It's like they took the raw intensity of the original and distilled it into something more introspective.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's the kind of music that makes you want to close your eyes and just get lost in the sound.
It's like a musical meditation.
Exactly.
And it really makes you wonder how this reinterpretation changes your own perception of Nothing Else Matters.
Oh, that's a great point.
Does it make you appreciate the original in a new way? Or does it open up a whole new dimension of meaning?
It's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, food for thought for sure.
It highlights how music is this living, breathing thing,
I love that.
It can be reinterpreted, reimagined, and rediscovered across generations.
I think that's a perfect note to leave our listeners on.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Kerian von Heyden's Nothing Else Matters. Don't forget to check out the link in the description if you want to give it a listen.
And a big thank you to Delaxy for sponsoring this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring the world of music and all its fascinating possibilities.